morning, respected colleagues. We may please take our seats. Respected colleagues, good morning. I want to sincerely apologize on behalf of the Speaker and members of the Bureau for coming late. Can we please, in our normal tradition, observe 1 minute of silence for prayer, meditation, and reverence to our respective beliefs and convictions, according to our respective beliefs and convictions. Amen. Mr. Secretary General, I want to assume that sitting has resumed. Mr. Secretary General, please proceed with the roll call of parliamentarians.
Right Honorable Tini Sidi Mohammed. Honorable Wase Ahmed Idris. Present. Honorable Sani Malam Shaibu Bukari. Honorable Ibrahima Memunatu. Present. Honorable Pinto Aja Satu Kamara. Honorable Abdiante Awaji Inombek Dagomi. Honorable Abdulaziz Ayaba Musa. Honorable Adamu Abdu. Honorable Adeyemi Smart. Honorable Adu Johnson Kwaku. Honorable Afenyomakin Alexander Kwamina. Honorable Agbandao Kuno Nao. Honorable Ayi Samson. Honorable Aka Hervé. Honorable Akwashiki Godia. Honorable Alimikena Francis Asikame. Honorable Alikui Senanu Koku.
Present.
Honorable Ameya Ochereme Kwasi. Honorable Asineme. Honorable Auyo Ibrahim Usman. Honorable Ayamba Ladi Ayi. Honorable Ayariga Mahama. Honorable Bako Nasiru Arifari. Honorable Larabe Abdullah Islame. Honorable Balogun Adebayo. Honorable Bangura Mohamed. Honorable Barro Keba K. Honorable Bezra Emmanuel Kwasi. Honorable Bolovi Patrick Kojovi Senam. Honorable Borofis Robert Ajayi. Honorable Buka Lamine Fugu. Honorable Boacha Emmanuel. Honorable Khalifa Seidi. Honorable Chuba Ikwe Azulinda. Honorable Kulibali Traore Ajaratu. Honorable Darbo Alaji S. Honorable Daoudou Bashir. Honorable Diaz Armando Correa. Honorable Jibo Ali Amadou. Honorable Ego Emmanuel Ogene. Honorable Ezenwa Francis Onyewochi. Honorable Fanny Musokura Chantal. Honorable Fernandez Gabriela Alfredo. Honorable Gabasawa Nasiru Abdua. Honorable Gocho Marcel Moni. Honorable Gobir Ibrahim. Honorable Azume Hippolyte. Honorable Idiango Usman. Honorable Isa Murtala. Honorable Isa Salifu. Honorable Isa Mayaki Ramnatu. Honorable Diallo Samba. Honorable Kaipe Jonathan Lambert. Honorable Kamba Abdullahi Umar. Honorable Kola Woletaiwo Musibo. Honorable Kone Nyagajomo. Honorable Kumwe Konarene. Honorable Sa Lamina Sa Emerson. Honorable Lopez Manuela Nascimento. Honorable Masakwa Clarence Kortu Momolu. Honorable Medega Fagla Sedami Romaric, Honorable Michelia Haruna, Honorable Mustafa Olalekan Ramoni, Honorable Ndoye Suleiman, Honorable Ndume Mohamed Ali, Honorable Ndiaye Fatoumata, Honorable Odebi Tolulupe Akinremi, Honorable Ogba Joseph Obina, Honorable Okejev Emmanuel Yiza, Honorable Olu Jimmy Biodun Christine, Honorable Honor Sandy, Honorable Pereira Diaz Orlando, Honorable Rocha Rosa Lopez, Honorable Rosario de Brito Nelson, Honorable Sahabi Alaji Yao, Honorable Saidu Alkali, Honorable Sako Mamadou, Honorable Salam Bamidele, Honorable Saleh Gabriel Zok, Honorable Saleh Ibrahima Baba, Honorable Samashaka Musa, Honorable Sankara Abdullahi Danladi, Honorable Santos Tavares Carlos Alberto Dos, Honorable Sar Wurai, Honorable Sise Veronica Kadi, Honorable Sarion Aja Fata, Honorable Snow Jr. Elvin Melvin, Honorable Suarez da Costa Isa Filomena Pereira, Honorable Soklingbe Senu, Honorable Sila Adama, Honorable Taiwo Oluyemi Adewale, Honorable Tunkara Bileji, Honorable Umeoji Michael, Honorable Vilan Abdullahi, Honorable Yusufu Bida Num Abdurrahmani, Honorable Zargo Stephen G.H. Mr. Speaker, the list is exhausted. Thank you.
Honorable members, by virtue of Article 71, paragraph 2 of our rules of procedure, Parliament always has the requisite numbers to deliberate and prosecute its agenda. The agenda, sorry, thank you. The agenda for the plenary sitting of today, Monday, 4th December 2023, will be devoted to the consideration of the following items. Consideration and adoption of the draft report of the ad hoc committee on the draft committee budget for the financial year 2024. Consideration and adoption of the draft report of the standing joint and ad hoc committee on referrals from the ECOWAS Commission. Consideration and adoption of the draft report of the ad hoc committee on the draft community budget for the 2024 financial year. Honorable members, dear colleagues, by way of introduction of this sitting, I remind you of the provisions of Article 17 of the Supplementary Act relating to the enhancement of the powers of the Parliament, which deal with the powers of Parliament in budgetary matters, and I quote, "The Council adopts the community budget in accordance with the treaty. However, before adoption by the Council, Parliament shall consider the community budget in accordance with the following provisions. A, after consideration of the budget by the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC, the AFC report on the budget is presented to Parliament during the budget session of the Parliament. The President of the ECOWAS Commission transmits the report and the consolidated budget within 2 days following the end of the AFC session. Parliament issues its opinion and makes its proposal for amendment, if necessary, to the draft budget of the committee in accordance with Article 11 of the Supplementary Act. The Parliament's opinion is submitted to the Council at the same time as the AFC report on the budget. The calendars of the budgetary session of the AFC Parliament and the Council of Ministers are as provided for the regulation of the Council of the Ministers, aim at facilitating the harmonious consideration of the community budget. Where Parliament fails to render an opinion within the period stipulated in the Council regulation referred to above, Parliament shall be deemed to have been given an opinion. End of quote. I now give the floor to the Chair and rapporteurs of the ad hoc committee on the draft committee budget for the financial year 2024 to present the summary of the committee reports plenary before the plenary. Honorable Khalifa will do the presentation on our behalf. Thank you. Honorable Khalifa, you have the floor.
Obrigado, Sr. Presidente.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to all of you, colleagues, MPs. On behalf of the ad hoc committee set up to address the draft consolidated budget of the draft budget for 2024, it is my pleasure to present the draft report of that ad hoc committee. You all have the report with you, so I'm just going to focus on the introduction and on the recommendations and conclusions. The introduction says as follows: the ECOWAS Parliament met in plenary on Wednesday, 22 November 2023, to hear the presentation by the chairperson of the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC of ECOWAS, on the draft 2024 Consolidated Community Budget during its opening ceremony of the 2023 Second Ordinary Session in Abuja. Consequently, the plenary referred the presented draft budget to an ad hoc committee that was established in accordance with the provisions of Rule 113 of the Rules of Procedure of Parliament. The ad hoc committee met at the seat of Parliament in Abuja from 27 to 28 November 2023 to consider in detail the draft consolidated community budget for the fiscal year 2024. The committee consists of 20 members constituted as follows. The first Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Idris Wazi, 6 members of the Administration, Finance and Budget Committee, AFC, a member each from 13 standing committees.
A lista dos
The list of members in attendance is annexed to this report. Also, the following participated in the proceedings of the meeting: the Bureau of the AFC, the ECOWAS Commissioner of Internal Services, the directors from the Commission, the Acting Secretary General of the Parliament, the Director of Administration and Finance of the Parliament, the Acting Director of Parliamentary Affairs and Research of the Parliament, the legal advisors of Parliament, the Clerk and the Administration, Finance and Budget Committee, and other staff members of the Parliament. For the conduct of the ad hoc committee meeting, the following bureau was established: Chairperson, Honorable Ahmed Idris Wazi; Rapporteur, Honorable Veronica Kadi Sise; and Rapporteur, Honorable Saidi Khalifa. The report summarizes the presentations and deliberations of the meeting, highlights the key points, and puts forward some recommendations based on the debates. Now, I would like to speak to the deliberations and conclusions and recommendations. And I will skip the part on the tables. So we move forward directly to the deliberations, conclusions, and recommendations. Conclusions. Given the foregoing and above, after a thorough examination of the 2024 draft consolidated community budget and the clarification provided by the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC, as well as the ECOWAS Commission, the draft consolidated community budget for the 2024 fiscal year is balanced in revenue and expenditures at the sum of 397,215,748 units of accounts. Recommendations. Accordingly, the ad hoc committee made the following recommendations. Plenary to issue a favorable opinion for the adoption of the 2024 draft consolidated budget, community budget, as presented by the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC. The ECOWAS Commission and the AFC should prepare and examine subsequent community budget to prioritize activities with a focus on programs which directly impact community citizens, particularly youth and women's empowerment, and in resolving humanitarian concerns in the region. Strictly adopt efficient measures in the issuance of travel tickets and ensure delegations are of reasonable size. The ad hoc committee also proposes that ticket reservations and confirmation should be done on time to avoid outrageous costs in procuring airfare tickets. Mandates a better collaborative working relationship between community institutions, particularly the Parliament, Commission, AFC, and Office of the Auditor General concerning the community budget process. Directs program implementing community institutions and agencies to carry out the recommendations arising from the conclusions of the oversight missions conducted by the ECOWAS Parliament. Closing. The closing session of the meeting was marked with a vote of thanks by the chairperson of the ad hoc committee, First Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Idris Waze, who on behalf of his colleagues expressed gratitude to God Almighty for the wisdom bestowed in all participants. He then thanked the Right Honorable Speaker for the opportunity given to them to lead this important task of considering the draft 2024 consolidated community budget. The First Deputy Speaker was also thanked his colleagues for their active participation in the deliberations of the meeting. Likewise, he expressed admiration and appreciation to the Bureau of the Administration and Finance Committee, AFC, and the ECOWAS Commission team for their availability and passion in presenting the draft 2024 consolidated community budget and the responses they proffered. Finally, he thanked the management and staff of the Parliament for their unflinching support throughout the meeting. Right Honorable Wazi also thanked the interpreters for the professional services rendered and the ad hoc staff for their assistance during the meeting. Thereafter, the chairperson of the ad hoc committee, the First Deputy Speaker, Honorable Ahmed Idris Waze, declared the meeting closed. Done at Abuja, 28 November 2023 for the ad hoc committee. Honorable Veronica Kadle-Sisse, Rapporteur. Honorable Saidi Khalifa, Rapporteur. Honorable Ahmed Idris Waze, Chairperson. I do thank you.
Thank you,
Se
respected
calhar
colleagues.
podia ler também o projeto.
I would also like to read out the draft resolutions, the resolutions being proposed, if I may. May I read the resolutions?
Thank you. So you may go ahead by the report house.
Okay. Bom, o projeto
The draft resolutions adopted by the ECOWAS Parliament on the draft consolidated budget of the community for the year 2024. The ECOWAS Parliament, meeting in plenary session on its second ordinary session of 2024, which took place in Abuja on 22nd November 2023, bearing in mind articles on the revised treaty instituting the ECOWAS Parliament, bearing in mind activities undertaken in the framework of the revised article and the community budget, bearing in mind Article 7 on this supplementary act on the prerogatives of the ECOWAS Parliament regarding the approval of the ECOWAS budget, Parliament budget, the Commission budget, referring to articles referring to the adoption by Parliament of Community Acts, bearing in mind Article 1015 of the Supplementary Act, which stipulates that Parliament approves resolutions and bearing in mind Article Tres of the Council of Ministers on the calendar for the adoption of community budget, bearing in mind Article on the rules of procedure on the community budget, bearing in mind the draft budget, consolidated budget of the ECOWAS for the fiscal year 2024 as approved by the Administration of Finance Committee on 10 November 2023, considering the presentation in plenary of the draft community budget for the fiscal year 2024 by the chairman of the Committee on Administration and Finance in November 2023, bearing in mind the deliberations of its plenary session of 22 November and 23 November, which led to the setting up of an ad hoc committee to consider the draft consolidated budget of the community for the fiscal year 2024, bearing in mind the report and recommendations of the ad hoc committee, which was mandated to consider the report for the 2024 budget, deliberated and adopted in its session of 4 December 2023, the following resolution. Article 1, to give a favorable opinion for the adoption of the draft consolidated budget of the community for the fiscal year 2024 regarding income and expenditures amounting to Article 2 asks its chairman to submit this resolution of the report of the Commission to the Speaker of the of the Parliament. Done in Abuja 4 December 2024, Dr. Sidi Mohamed Tunis, the Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament. Total budget for expenditures is 406,012,566, the total budget for expenditures projections for 2024, for the fiscal year 2024.
Thank you very much, our rapporteur. Members of Parliament, I believe the first leg should have been first for us to debate on or contribute on the budget before the adoption of the resolution. So the list is now open for those who want to contribute. Okay. SG. I will beg for 2 minutes. I believe my brother, Honorable Valain, was part of this report writing and processes. So even though he still indicated to speak, I beg for 2 minutes to each member. Honorable Valain, you have the floor. Then Honorable Sekalembe.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Honorable Speaker. I was indeed a member of the ad hoc committee, and it is for that reason that in substance, the report regarding the report submitted to us, I wanted to take the floor to ensure that the deliberations and recommendations made are in line with the text that is being submitted to us for approval. Secondly, I would also like to ask that the resolution read by Khalifa on our behalf to be distributed in all the working languages of this House to enable each member So, as I was saying,
by him, resolution has been circulated? Yes, sir.
No.
no, says Honorable Nan. Yes, you. It is appended to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just saw that it is, in fact, part of a very bulky document. So this was not indicated, and as Khalifa read it, I couldn't see it, and I could not. And I would like this resolution to be read out for there to be amendments. So because either the translation was having difficulties or the reading was causing problems. So, Mr. Chairman, it is about the budget. As member of the Commission, and I want to ensure that the opinion that we formulated, the recommendations, the discussions are well properly taken on board. I invite us to refer to Article 22 in the French document, point 22 in the French document, on air tickets, Now, to begin with, now let us look at paragraph 20 on air tickets on the same page. It was noted that the highest expenditures, is 22.8 in the English version, where we're referring to expenditures. So where we are talking, let me continue. Now, it was noted that one of the largest expenditure figures in the budgets of community institutions is the cost of travel tickets, which is mainly due to the late requests by institutions and issuance by the travel agents. Members further stated that the cost could be curbed if efficient measures are put in place to mitigate the high cost of travel tickets. Well, we had talked about the possibility of giving a set amount, a forfeited amount, and refunding. And if we agree on that principle, it will resolve a very serious problem which has been lingering for the past 4 years. We have been lingering with this problem of the travel by the Nigerian delegation during this 5th legislature. So I think that we should have a principle of providing refund and based on a forfeited amount, because this is what we were doing in the past. So let us be consistent, colleagues, and I want us to really comply with the mandate you gave us for in the ADOPT committee. We talk about adopting rigorous measures for the issuing of air ticket and adopting the necessary measures for the delegations to be of a reasonable size. The ADOPT committee also proposes that ticket reservations and confirmation should be done on time to avoid outrageous costs in procuring airfare tickets, full stop. We are faithful, but I would like us so far. But let us add this sentence to make the difference between the size of delegations and
Je peux continuer?
may I continue?
What is that?
Thank you very much. The speaker was a member of the ad hoc committee, and if he signed the report, why should he hold us talking a lot about the report again? I thought this is the time for those that are not members to comment on the report. He should have corrected all these things before signing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. If you look at the report, the people that signed this report are 3 persons. And I want to say I'm in concurrence with what he's observing, because this was a true reflection of what we did. We did ask that there should be, in fact, I gave an example of the last journey that I was supposed to go on behalf of the ECOWAS Commission. I was asked to now from Nigeria to go to, what was it, Spesa? Angola. Instead of booking me from here, Abuja, that will have a 3-hour ticket, they booked me from here to go to Cameroon, to go to Cote d'Ivoire to Cameroon, Cameroon to Sweden, before coming back to it doesn't make sense. And we are saying that such kind of thing should not be happening. I suppose the criteria are supposed to capture exactly our own proceedings, because these were our concerns, that welfare of members and staff should be very, very paramount. This, I think, we should have a complete departure from what we're doing. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, je continue.
May I continue, Mr. Speaker? I would like to appeal to my colleague to be patient. All of us here are experienced and responsible people. I'm not speaking for the sake of speaking. Those who signed the documents are the rapporteurs and the chair. But myself as a member, if what has been written is not faithful to the deliberations, I have to say it. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I'm taking us back to paragraph 26. And I think we need to separate the recommendations for missions for all officials of ECOWAS from the members of parliament, because you cannot reduce the number. We know the number of parliament for each country. We cannot reduce the number of delegation for Nigeria because it's going to be expensive. You can't remove the number of delegations from my country because it's expensive. So we need to be more precise for all the recommendations. And then, dear colleagues, in the document, you notice that it was mentioned a salary and allowance increment for this expenditure. What does that suggest? When you make a recommendation in this line, it shows that the budget needs to be reviewed upward. Otherwise, you leave us with the impression that yes, you recommended per diem mission allowances, but it's not captured in the budget. So I'm calling on the plenary so that all of us should be focused and committed to what we have been said in order to give this report the due weight that it should bear. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the floor.
I think the area that we're talking about the delegation is delegation on mission and not regarding. And even at that, I remember what we agreed then, which they didn't capture again, was that every country parliament should go back and ensure supervises and scrutinize and ensure that what is due to the ECOWAS is remitted correctly. We believe doing that oversight in our various parliament will enhance the revenue generation of the agency. Thank you. No, we have people who have indicated. Honorable Sakalimbe.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was part of this committee, and I made a number of observations which I cannot find, which has not been captured in the final document, and this compels me to react. On page 9, paragraph 23, a conclusion, I had suggested that since this is captured in the document, that the increase or reduction of the budget should appear in the conclusion. But I don't see that in the final document. I would like to draw attention to this because mostly we make contributions and amendments, but we are told that it will be reflected, but in the final document, these are often not reflected, and this point is one thing I'd like to draw attention to. And then, Mr. Speaker, I would respond to funds for tickets that Honorable Bilan raised. I would like to point out that this topic was trashed in an ad hoc committee that was set up for this purpose. And like he has pointed out, if we decide on that in the report, then the resolution should reflect that the Parliament has decided that as from this moment, that the funds should be clearly defined by the country so that the members of Parliament could buy their tickets, and that this should be so said so that the committee that was set up for that purpose will clearly spell it out. The third point that I'd like to talk about has to do with missions undertaken by members of Parliament. Mr. Speaker, most often when we go on mission, sometimes it is days or even months later that the oversight missions are paid. Would it not be better if we take that into account so that the next time that MPs are going on a mission, by the second day after their arrival to the location of the meeting, their allowances or advances should be paid to help them better manage their stay and their return. So this is a point that I wanted to raise. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Fatimata Njai.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, it's just an observation on page 8 of the English version, number 28. It says direct programs implementing committee, institutions, and agency to carry out the recommendations arising from the conclusions of oversight missions conducted by the Parliament. We did conduct a series of oversight missions, but reports were not adopted, and the whole purpose of that mission, of those missions, were to ensure that the challenges were reflected.
You got the point there correctly. The point is what exactly I'm trying to make or stress is that recommendations of Parliament should be considered in the budget process. For instance, if infrastructures are in place and maybe lack of completion or their observation regarding to financial, these recommendations of Parliament should be taken. But it's not on their own fault at this level because it's futuristic, and we're asking that in future such should be done. There's no point wasting public funds, as you mentioned. At the end of the day, we do not have value for money. Thank you. Honorable Jibo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have a very brief remark, but which could have grievous consequences because you said that you frame in order to be right. So I'll take us to paragraph, page 5, table 4. That is the last line of page 5, table 4. You have peace and security, 20,325,564. Now, if you go to page 6, table 5, last line, you have still peace and security, 20,325,564. The same thing says on page 5 of the English version, page 6, I beg your pardon, table 7, last line, peace and security, 20,325,563. In the eyes of an auditor, the figures add up, but this means that there are budget lines that do not make sense, but have, so to say, been doctored. This figure means that we have to find 20,325,563 in table 5. So I think these corrections need to be reviewed and correct these tables before tabling them before a serious gathering. This is all that I have to say.
Some of us don't have that financial proficiency, so guide us properly, guide the Parliament.
Merci. Merci bien.
Thank you very much, and that was why I was very slow. If you start with page 6, table 5, the total on that table is 397,215,746. This is the sum total for the whole column. Now, if you go to table 7, the total is 406,012,566. This amount was obtained from adding all the figures in the column. But one thing that was constant is peace and security, which is 20,325,563. Here, the total for table 7 is 20,325,563. only one unit makes a difference, and this could have grave implications because from the figures that you have, there are one or two figures that are not in the right position, but in order to round it up, it's like some figures are being retained or changed. So I believe that whoever did this calculation should find out what is responsible for that one mistake there, because that one mistake could mean 10 billion. That one is more dangerous than, as much dangerous as when you have something huge missing.
So that we can do, and I will urge my brother, Honorable Ndime Yabak, he wasn't around with us, the Chairman of Finance, who may understand the language better as the Chairman of Finance on this particular subject matter, that the reconciliation should be done alongside with his committee, if need be. Thank you. I hope we are clear. Okay, you just take note of it. Honorable Alipui, then get back to you.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Before commenting on what I wanted to comment on, the discovery by Honorable Jibo is a very good one. I believe that it might look like just rounding the figure, but no, that's not the case. It is much more serious than that. I would like to amplify what Honorable Soklembe said with respect to the cost of flight tickets. I think that we need to hold a serious meeting with the Auditor General to see how that is done, because we have other institutions that are operating but which do not apply the same process as us here. And I'll take the example of the United Nations from what I obtain as an information, and it goes that when you are going on mission and everything is approved, a huge sum is paid to you in advance in order for you to go on the mission, and then you can retire that at the end of the mission. And so for the mission, it could be 60, 70, or 80 or 90% of the mission paid upfront before the staff takes off to make sure that he arrives safely. And then there's also the issue of the lump sum paid for tickets, and I think we need to adopt that. For instance, when we have a meeting in Abuja, the amount for Lome Abuja will not change whatever happens all through the year. So this amount could be given as advance so that the MPs could buy the tickets themselves, and then when they arrive, they could submit their boarding pass within 72 hours, and then I assume that the advance given to the person would be deducted from the total amount that he or she is supposed to earn during the mission. So I believe that this is in line with cutting the cost for members of parliament and streamlining the expenditure. Now, I believe that this is something that we could discuss with the Finance Department in the presence of the Auditor General, and let there be a consensus so that we make progress on cash advance in our operations. And I believe that this should apply to all the rules that we have, so that we will not sit before the auditor one day and he will tell us that no, this is not possible. That's the contribution that I wanted to make, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, my interest and concern is on page 8 of the English version, paragraph 26. And I think the committee didn't miss their words by saying the delegations should be reasonable in size and the ticket issue. Mr. Speaker, I have also gone on at least 1 or 2 missions or activities. And my observation is not only about the size of the members of parliament, but the size of other staff. I don't know under what to classify them, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my observation is on page 8, paragraph 26, the issue of sizable or delegations being cut to size. I have been on not less than 2 or 3 programs, and my observations are that we actually need to be conscious of the number of persons that we send for programs or for activities. You look at the numbers and those who come, and if actually you want to do your work, you look at it carefully and you ask yourself several questions. What are all these people doing here? Is the question you will ask yourself. And it's a fact. I know many people will not want to say this, but I'm saying it because that is me. You carry more than even the MPs that are going. And we are complaining about money. Yes, I have observed and I've seen it. Sat somewhere and then I've looked at certain issues. And I just ask myself questions whether we are actually doing ourselves any good. It's very bad. We need to look at it. And if we continue in that manner, we have no business questioning cost of ticket. Because while you are talking about cost of ticket, you are also looking at number of persons who are not even supposed to be there. For lack of a better word, I would say not supposed to be there. So, Mr. Speaker, the issue of sizable delegations, people might even be counting people who are not supposed to be there as part of the delegation. Why do I say people who are not supposed to be there? Because you have a particular topic or you have a particular activity to undertake. And you don't see why certain individuals should be there. For instance, if you are going for, let's say, maybe to go and fact-finding, which might be taking about 5 or 6 MPs, then you go and find other members who are not even MPs, about 10, 15 of them, coming there to do what? So, Mr. Speaker, this is my observation, and I'm very happy about that paragraph. And I think we need to actually look at it very carefully and ensure that it doesn't continue. Because some of us are very, very observant, and it will not be the best to continue talking. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Bezra.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, Honorable Jibo, made a submission on 2 tables, table 5, 6, and 7. And having gone through it, Mr. Speaker, I've noticed that table 5 on page 5, that's the English version, has nothing to do with table 6 and 7. Now, table 6 has to do with projection for 2025 and 2026 fiscal year, whilst table 7 is also a projection by breakdown of the various institutions and how the expenditure will be done. Having said that, if you look at the same page 5 of table 5, the total amount which was submitted was 397,215,748 unit of account. Then when you come to table 6, you have the various sums there for 2025 which is the 406. Then 2026 estimate 405. The only difference between the 2026 and then on table 6 and that of table 7 is just one unit of account, where we have 688 at the end, and they have 689. Having added all at the end, there should be some reconciliation. But actually, the table 5 has nothing to do with tables 6 and table 7 because they are two different separate things. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you for the clarification. I think it has given us a solution about 95% or 99%. Honorable Khalifa.
Senhor, obrigado, Senhor Presidente.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, one of the points that was raised is one of clarification. What Honorable Jibo was referring to was a table 1 relating to the forecast for 2024. Another table was table 7, the projections of income and expenditures for 2026 to 2026, so 2025 and 2026. They are different. One is projections for the coming years and the amounts for 2024. So it's two different tables. And that is a clarification that I wanted to make. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, we are talking a lot about air tickets, and I think that one of the issues raised, that is the terms of reference, the mandate for the ad hoc committee, which was set up some time ago, was to address the issue of air tickets. It was one of the points of in its mandate. So I think that the ad hoc committee is going to discuss that again and come up with a recommendation for plenary of this parliament to adopt, so that the parliament can take a decision on that issue. Because in fact, for us, it relates, here we are talking about the implementation of the 2024 budget, and we have to make recommendations and we have to address the recommendations of the ad hoc committee, and the recommendations will help us find a solution to this problem. And in fact, the proposals that came, we have proposals coming from the Administration and Finance Committee, and the committee has submitted a resolution and said that we have to accept that proposal be considered by the Council of Ministers. So we have to wait to state until such a time. Thank you.
Honorable Tonkura.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, mine is just an observation. As parliament and parliamentarian, the most powerful tool we have in parliament is oversight. And in every oversight, the end result of oversight is to come up with recommendations. The impact of every recommendation is to do a follow-up on those recommendations and on those resolutions to make sure that it holds water. There must be a department, or there must be a committee, or within the Parliamentary Affairs Division, responsible for follow-up of recommendations. If not, year in, year out, you may continue to do resolutions, recommendations, proposals, whatever, it will not hold water. What is important, because when you say Parliament has resolved, it means it is affirmative decision. They've stamped their feet and they've agreed on X, Y, and Z. It's not enough to converge here and then pass resolutions, and that's the end of it. No, it goes beyond that. So I think the administration and the parliament and the parliamentary affairs we need to put our house in order, whereby every recommendation or resolution are banked, and there is a routine checkup, follow-up on every recommendation, so that it can have an impact on the work of Parliament. So this is what I want to contribute. Thank you so much.
Amandao, Honorable Amandao.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Ms. Honorable Speaker, for giving me the floor. Honorable Speaker, I would like to speak to paragraph 26 of the recommendations, paragraph 26, which stipulates that the priority would have a direct impact, among other things, on the empowerment of youth and women and activities aiming to resolve humanitarian problems. Well, it is true that the security issue may be, in fact, part of the humanitarian issue, but because of the scope of that problem, is it not necessary to highlight it and have specifically, mention specifically humanitarian problems, refer specifically to humanitarian problems?
I think what she is asking for is that we add security, and indeed we mention security in our recommendation. Maybe just the haphazard nature of doing the job, and I want to urge the Secretariat to include security. Thank you. Okay, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, my comment seems to have been taken lightly because the explanations given do not convince anybody. What I'm saying, and I'm appealing here to you, conviction, personal conviction, why between the two figures there's only one unit out of 20 millions of variation, explaining that it is not the same tables, it's from one year to another. There is a problem. It is the same budget line. Peace and security. Reference was made to 20,324 and 263. And all of a sudden, it becomes 563. So one unit of account of a variation from one year to another, that is not the right explanation. The explanation is quite different. And what we should try to do now is try to see why this 1 point, where is 1 point coming from? And I'm saying it, I'm repeating it. I prefer on a table to have a difference of 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 rather than one, because what it means is that I made a mistake or I am hiding figures. I'm hiding figures, trying to conceal figures. So this is what we call it. It should be called concealing. So it is not because it is not the right year, etc., etc. We have one unit here, a discrepancy of one unit.
Appreciate, and we are very transparent, and we should be transparent in all our dealings. And I think there's nothing for us to deny every opportunity in terms of resourcefulness. With this, I want to plead with Parliament that we adopt it subject to amendment or consideration of the report by the following. We put the chairman of the Finance Committee as chairman to look into this, Honorable Jibo, my brother, Honorable, who provide the solution for us, and maybe another one that will make them a 5-man committee, but for these three, they can go ahead, invite the AFC chair, and then go through the accounts alongside with our secretariat in terms of finance and then SG. I think that would be okay. We will adopt it subject to this, their own findings. If there is need for us to come back again, we should come back to report to us. Yes, sir. I'll leave you. Yes, sir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we take it that the document was prepared by experts, so we did not look at it very rigorously. So this is in fact a matter that has an explanation. If you look at table 7, some of the tables. Let us take table 7, the one which is attracting my attention. On one of the items, we have amount in units of accounts, and in the column on the right-hand side, we have the percentages. But it is, we have whole values, not percentages, in the last column. Is it a mistake, or maybe there are new financial rules that we are not aware of, and that we would like to really know about it? Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
We may join the committee. Thank you. Thank you. So I think you have the period of today, tomorrow to reconcile and get back. But for now, adapt it subject to your own report. Thank you. Thank you very much, our rapporteurs, respected colleagues.
Now you are coming to the real point. Does it matter? Yes.
Yeah, mic is on.
But then again, even if it's just a procedure, they don't really care. You're going to show documents to people. Percentage is not a percentage of something, right?
Respected colleagues, other members, dear colleagues, we will now consider the second item on the agenda of our plenary sitting, which is consideration and adoption of the draft report from the Standing Joint and Ad hoc Committee on referrals. You still have a contribution on the last one? Okay. I thought the gavel has gone.
Oui. Giving me the floor. Je voudrais vous dire.
Well, I would like to speak in Hausa. Nangode, Yanka, Ranka Yadade.
Avant de passer.
Honorable Speaker, before moving to the second item, there is the issue of the resolution. I believe, in my humble opinion, that the resolution must be based on our recommendations and our giving a favorable opinion. But in our recommendations, as in the debate that we have had, we advocated for an increase of the salaries of staff of the whole community, of staff of the community, because the increase of the cost of living, etc. We advocated also to increase the allowances and sitting allowances and related expenditures, and we made also recommendations on air tickets and missions. In the resolution, in my humble opinion, we should call on, by giving a favorable opinion, we should also say that this should be taken into account, this should be taken on board in the 2024 budget. There is no need to make recommendation and say that we adopt the budget as it is. So, Nangode, on those words, Nangode, Nanka Yadade, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much. I think you have tried and you are doing more than expected in terms of trying to communicate with us here. I don't know why the Secretariat decided to kind of play down on those recommendations. It was certainly clear, and all the people at the sitting, inclusive of those who are coming from the Commission and the AFC, agreed to the fact that what is being paid to members and members of Parliament is not commensurate, and is not in reality to the tune of time. This was agreed. But in putting the recommendation, I recall when the report was laid before us, we still asked them to go and correct. I input those things. I would say I signed this report because I signed in trust. If I have gone through it, I would not have signed. Because I want everything that we have done collectively be reflected. And this is the time to make history. If we do the right thing, the staff are happy, members are happy, it is an honor to us, and we'll have the glory before God. Why are we shying away from doing that? I don't know the reason. For me, I observe and I take your observation. It's part of the thing that should be imputed. If the institution like, let them not implement. But for us, as a parliament, we have done our duty. And let me go further to tell so that members will appreciate what we're saying. You now send somebody on an international mission, you are giving $300. What will he do with $300? And I remember when the president of the commission came here, issues were raised. I said, members, be patient. These things are captured in the report of the budget. And eventually, it's not reflected in the budget report. Whose work are we actually doing? I think that thing has to stop. I won't blame SG, but the person who's putting the report, I'm not happy. And I want you to go and reflect exactly those other small recommendations. We don't want to delay the process, but make us proud by doing the thing we have confidence on you doing. Please, that's my plea. I leave you.
Mr. Speaker, are you still recommending for adoption? Then why don't we hold on?
Point of order. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Point of order. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Point of order. Your point of order. J'ai demandé une motion. Monsieur le Président, merci.
Well, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, said he. My comment has no value whatsoever, Mr. Honorable Speaker. I was referring to Table 7, referring to a projection, to Table 7 was referring to a projection for 2025 and 2026. So you can put whatever figure you want. That would have nothing to say with Table, had nothing to do with Table 5. So I apologize. The only comment that remains valid is the one made by Ali Pui, percentages. So forget about everything that I said. It is not, there is no link whatsoever between the two tables. So I withdraw.
Can we make progress? Ali Pui.
Yes.
I will take Ali Pui before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Your last comment and the mistakes that we found in the reports definitely pose a problem of the dichotomy between the politicians that we are and the administration, and the integrity of the data that we receive. The data that we receive should be complete and accurate, whether it's numbers or whether it reflects discussions that we have. So I will support the idea that we adopt it as it is, and that it's review for the mistakes that we've noted or any other mistakes, so that we don't delay the process. But my point here, and it's not a problem just of data error or items discussed and not reported. We really have to sit and reflect on the relationship between the administration and the politicians that we are. Because if, probably for some of you, you remember or you've heard about the book, The Study of Administration by Woodrow Wilson in 1987, it was already posing the problem of who leads. Administration is here for continuity, they have the archives and everything, and politicians change from time to time. But while we are sitting here and doing our job as politicians, we need to ensure that the relationship that we have with the administration is a relationship where the politicians lead and the administration follow. It's not the other way around. Administration is here to guide us if there are some things that we are doing that are out of scope or not out of order, or that are not in sync with what is expected as output for us in an institution. They can help us. But to get to a point where we just sign documents, trusting that what we've discussed is properly reported, or to get data that we will just vote on like this budget or this proposal, and realize that the job has not been done, then the whole institution pays the price. And I'm not blaming anybody here. I just think that we need to change some of our processes and we need to work more together so that everybody plays his role better. If they need more staff, if it's more money that they need, we provide for that. But on the other side, we ensure that we get the quality of work that we're expecting to keep the level of trust that we've been giving them right now. Thank you very much if I've been a bit long.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to echo on what distinguished colleague has just said. And I think we should, what the Speaker was trying to tell us is to work with reality. The reality is what the Honorable that spoke before me said. We are working upside down. I've said it severally. Where the administration is in control, and we, the politicians that are supposed to give them direction and supervise over their activities, are the ones that are being directed. I told him just now before he spoke, when he lamented, and I said, at the end, would it matter? He said, no. I said, so, let us just allow the figures, but let's make sure that we understand the figures, or at least they tally. And look at it, even common arithmetic, they are not doing it well. So, unless we change and take the responsibility of being legislators or parliamentarians as we are supposed to be, all these things is mere procedure. Or even if it's not even procedure, it's not a good procedure. So, I want to appeal to our colleagues that this is something that we virtually have no control about. Let us just do the arithmetic for them and do the cross-checking and do the calculation. And let's even try to understand what is in the content. As I speak to you as the chairman of the Committee on Finance and our ad hoc chairman, the second deputy, Honorable Maimuna, sitting down there, we have been dealing with this for the past day. I think the best thing is we should make a strong recommendation that the budget process should be as it's supposed to be. Otherwise, there's no need they bring the budget. Instead, they should do the budget and bring it here and let them do the good arithmetic, saying we approve it for you people. So allow us to, and I want to say, sir, that the responsibility you are giving us is not anything, it's just to do arithmetic. So we are going there to use our calculator to make sure the figures tally and we bring it back. So that you don't expect anything from us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Abiante.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would just raise a few concerns, and if it qualifies for yellow or red flags, so be it. Mr. Speaker, recall that at the beginning of this session, when we were to start plenary, a report was brought before us, and the content of the report was at variance with what we had discussed in Winneba, meaning that the Secretariat did not do a good and thorough job. Here we are again, Mr. Speaker, faced with similar challenges, that somebody is not really doing his work effectively well. Mr. Speaker, recall that we have also been on a particular issue. That issue attempted to tear this parliament at some point. Issue of recruitment. If we see all these happening, sir, it points to something that there may have been processes that have brought in very, very incompetent and incompetence in the system. And when we raise these issues, we do not raise them because we just want to raise issues. We want to raise these issues because we are very patriotic about what we do. Mr. Speaker, I think the happenings vindicate us because we are also aware that there is an audit report which has specified that a certain staff recruited does not have the requisite qualifications, neither the requisite experience and competence. We cannot shy away from this, no matter where it is coming from. Mr. Speaker, I think it is probably due to pressure or attempting to let us cross this that you would accept to have anticipatory approvals. That does not seem to be the speaker that I know, sir. If the figures do not tally, I know that in your character, you would urge us to step it down until the proper thing is done. But be that as it may, it raises a very fundamental question. If we allow all of this to go, in the past, there used to be a certain administrator who would tell us to our face that we don't have any opinion. Ours is just to come and is it rubber stamp? Everything that they bring, they say approve, adopt, and it will go. The question now is, with all these discoveries within this very short period of time, we continue to allow this to pass. What will be our place in history? I rest my case. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abente and respected colleagues, for your various interventions. I want to believe that it is a resultant effect, if I may use the correct word, of the frustration possibly with the staffers and the system that we're seeing what we're seeing. And those things that we're now asking that be corrected, if done, may resolve some of the issues. You cannot imagine somebody being in the system for 20 years not having promotion, and you expect them to give you your best. These are part of the issues as far as I'm concerned, that I thought those things were asking for to be reflected in the report. If they are done and carried, executed, staff will be happy, and everybody in the system will be happy. So mine, I still want to plead with you, so that we do not stall. I believe you have the trust and confidence of Indimi and all other members who are here. I believe the correcting will be reflected. They will go back, adopted, subject to what the amendment they are bringing in terms of what is the true reflection of our conversation, and the figures, either plus or minus, so that we do not stall the system. When they return the report, it will just be an easy one. It's for nothing at that time. I believe they will resolve all issues. This is what I want to believe. And I want to believe, Mr. Secretary, I understand with you, I appreciate every other thing, but it is only fair. You see, working for our bodies background as parliamentarians, whatever we speak, we are speaking on behalf of the people. You cannot speak for yourself. We are the ones to speak on your behalf. So whatever we are doing, whoever is having any interest, it should not go in conflict with the resolution of the House. This is what I want to beg for. Going ahead. Thank you. Yes, you want to comment?
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, at this point in the discussions, I just wanted to take the floor to reassure the honorable members of Parliament that as regards the report of this legislature, the corrections will be made based on what plenary has decided. But I would also like to recall that I think that you did, in fact, what is normal for the budget. We should first listen to the head of the chairman of the administration of Finance Committee, that we have an adopt committee, and after the adopt committee's report, we adopt a report in plenary. This is what we are doing right now. But it is the resolution that we are going to submit to the Council of Ministers. It is that resolution that reflects the opinion of Parliament, whether or not to adopt the budget. And if there are no amendments to the budget, it means that we take into account the resolution and we continue. If there are amendments from Parliament, from the plenary, on the budget, those amendments will be taken on board. And this is not the case for this budget. There were no amendments in terms of reduction of the budget or increase of it, and the report will be corrected to suit and will be submitted at the same time as the resolution that you have just adopted. Now, the recommendations that are reflected in the report are not normally reflected in the resolution, because the resolution only refers to the opinion of Parliament. For the Council of Ministers to be guided, we add the recommendations and the report, and we submit all those documents. So we are going to correct the report for it to be in line with what was said in the deliberations. But we have followed the procedure, the parliamentary procedure, when it comes to adopting a budget. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
A little from your own side. Yes, we're adopting the budget, but there are conditions to the adoption. And the conditions are the one we are seeking. Even though they say if we refuse to, or they can decide to, that we do not want to go back forward. These same ministers that you are talking about are the same ministers who will come back to our parliament for other things. They are not too spiritual to us. They are not angels. And this thing that we are doing it in the interest of the community. SG, I think we have made progress. Don't bring us backward. The recommendations should go alongside with the budget. AFC are the one who are supervising the budget. And with them, we start and agree on a number of things. If you don't include it and make it a template for them to see, have a reflection towards their preparation next year, you say, we just find the figures. What now happens? The next time they tell you, we have not seen your recommendations. It should be part of it. It should be part of the budget document that is going out. Our recommendations and whatever we have done should go alongside with it. That's what I know. Thank you. I think we have, sorry, sir. After him, then I will.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to congratulate you for your last intervention on what you said. The Secretary General needs to know that necessarily the observation that you have made, there is no need to pretend when we are in plenary that the interventions by the honorable members has been taken into account, whereas that is not the case. Honorable Abiente did say you need to be careful. You need to avoid make-believe, because when observations of this nature are made, please, you need to reflect that, because ever since I've been here, I've observed that sometimes there are make-believes, and then we all come here with intentions. We present to the Parliament something to make believe or to create the impression that their comments are going to be reflected, whereas as soon as we turn our back, singularly, you do something else. And so, Mr. Speaker, there is the utmost necessity that the chair of the Finance Committee or the members that are responsible for these observations should monitor up till the last day of the session to make sure that the observations made in the Parliament have reached where they are supposed to reach. Otherwise, each time we meet here, we say the same thing, and as soon as we leave, one individual with very harmful intentions will do what he wants, and then later will say, no, there was this, there was that at the Parliament. It appears that it's as if the Parliament did not meet at all. So, Mr. Speaker, please, we need to, since you are the one that is chairing this, we need to make sure that there is a follow-up of whatever the MPs will decide as recommendation. Thank you.
I think we can make progress. Still?
C'est pour avancer.
Hein?
C'est pour avancer.
Yeah, it's just to, yes, just to make progress. Pardon me. Following what the second deputy speaker said, it is worthy of admiration. I have heard I've heard what collaborator did say, and that's why we are all happy that he's the SG. But, and there's always a but, because words will go, but what is written remains. It's easy to say that your recommendations have been captured, but Mr. Speaker, like you did say, you and the chair of the Finance Committee are all here, and I believe that it's your responsibility to make sure that whatever we said has been captured. Secondly, our resolutions are reflected in line with recommendations that we make to the Council of Ministers, and specifically with respect to the revision of allowances and other payments. The members discussed at length the need for an upward review. So this will definitely affect the budget as presented. So if it's only this point, if it is not captured, they will later say that we are going to pass the budget as it is. And then tomorrow they will tell us that it's not been budgeted for. So please, let's avoid budget tinkering. And so I will recommend that a resolution to capture our recommendations, our advocacy and sensitization to the people preparing the budget, for them to take that into account. And so the budget that we are going to give a favorable opinion on should reflect our recommendations and whatever we say about the tickets and all that. Seriously, here the members of parliament are being very elegant, but while waiting for the enhancement of our powers, permit us to drop our own budget and to work as members of parliament, because that is how we need to drop our own budget, because that's how we can get our own powers. But if we continue the way things are going, then sincerely it's an exercise in futility. And so please do not tell us that your recommendations have been taken into account. And then please, you must not change or tinker with our resolution. And it must be captured that as we give a favorable opinion, that our resolutions and our recommendations are captured, and that is that this budget should be reviewed upward in order to capture whatever it is that we want. And so this is what I want to say. I'd like to commend you, Mr. Speaker, and for the faithful chairing of this meeting. Thank you.
Respected colleagues, I think we have a procedure, and that procedure is that we adopt the budget. We have observed certain miscalculations within the budget, and so we said we have put up a committee and we have passed it subject to their own findings. We should stop at that. When we want to now tie the budget of the future to our own demands now, we may not do the right thing. And I don't want us to go that way, because if you deviate from the standard procedure by 1%, the negativity that will go more than 90%. And so I want us to strictly adhere ourselves while pushing for every other thing that will improve the system. I think this is my own plea, and I beg for that, so that we don't seem to be stalling what is supposed to be positive for the system in terms of our community. Our community needs this. Very soon, January will come. If this budget is not passed on time, it means then we're stalling development and other things that will come alongside. I don't want us to do that. There are many issues that we raise, including the finances. Now we have suspended about how many communities within the budget, within the ECOWAS Parliament. It means that it's going to be it's not going to be easy for anybody in the helm of affairs. And I pity those who are coming ahead if we do not do the right thing to resolving the financial crisis that may impede on our implementation. I want to beg that we step down every other contribution, allow the committee to do their job. I believe those people that we mentioned are part and parcel. They know what have not been captured and what area have been captured. So the one next time they come, maybe in the next 1 2 hours, even as we resume or tomorrow, will have their own input and will make progress. Thank you. Alipu, okay, my brother will get back to other Alipu.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup, monsieur.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Muito obrigado, Sr. Presidente. Eu queria dar uma humilde contribuição para os próximos orçamentos. Concordo com.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to make my contribution. With respect to the budget preparation of the community, I agree with everything that has been said by our colleagues, the honorable members. For the next budget, which will be an important one, the Parliament should be represented at the AFC so that we will make our input there. We need to proceed that way so that our recommendations would be captured right from the AFC, because we know the procedure from the AFC. It goes to the Parliament and then the Council of Ministers. A lot of contributions have been made here, but this is something, these recommendations could easily have been made at the AFC meeting, and these should have been captured in the draft budget. So it is this contribution that I wish to make, and I believe that the Parliament should be able to take part in the Admin and Finance Committee meeting and make their contributions there, and that will be very useful. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais proposer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to suggest that at this stage, if we are advanced, if we are to make progress with the budget and I would like to make this clarification. Maybe my comments would have given the impression that I'm questioning the competence of our administration. That's not the case. They are already competent because they are they were recruited after a very complex process, and that they are given the best that they can with the data resources that we are all facing. So all I'm saying is that we all need to work together in a different manner, but in synergy towards achieving the best results that we could achieve. And so if my comments had offended anyone, that was not my intention, and I take them back. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The previous speakers have already largely given up, said what I wanted to say. With respect to the budget, I'll continue when you are ready to listen to me. Right, thank you. With respect to the budget, I believe that there are clear procedures, and it's proper to mention them. And the Speaker, Honorable Wase, had clearly mentioned that in line with what we are doing. And I believe that some colleagues are really making underwhelming comments in line with what we are supposed to do, and that's not proper. There are discussions that we can only resolve upfront. As soon as we lose that upfront advantage, we can't do anything downstream. And so another aspect that I would like to comment on has to do with amendments, and we are all versed in parliamentary procedure. We have a technical team that drafts the reports, and there are two ways of doing that. The first point, you take some aspects of this point and tell the team, go, you have 15 minutes, go and fine-tune it and bring it for us to adopt, or if the plenary could adjourn for 5 or 10 minutes, we resolve and then we come back and agree that this is what we've adopted. It is a plenary, and you cannot postpone a particular decision and then expect them to come back. This is not done, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, this is a suggestion for all of us to be on the same page. If it is just 1 or 5 minutes of adjournment, let them go fine-tune it and come back, and then we agree. Or you say that we are going to suspend this point, and in 15 minutes they will bring back something more concrete, which we will adopt. Thank you very much.
I want to differ a little from my brother. In Parliament all over the world, there are certain things you do on the confidence of the people you have bestowed upon. And I believe they are in the right position to do that. When you say approve subject to, it's done. That's nothing bad. Let us not stall this process, please. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues, I believe you have already ruled on this matter. You have ruled and you have not the gavel. If you allow everybody to be speaking, we will not finish from here today, because you are the ruling is what all of us have accepted. If we have to go up and down, we still come back to your ruling. We have ruled. Let us proceed.
Thank you. Any other contrary? If the contrary, we make progress. Thank you. Respected colleagues, consideration and adoption of the draft reports from the Standing Joint and Ad Committee on the Fathers from the ECOWAS Commission. Honorable members, dear colleagues, we will now consider the second item on the agenda of our plenary sittings. As a reminder, the ECOWAS Commission has deferred to the Parliament for its opinion on a series of 9 draft committee texts before their consideration by the next ECOWAS Council of Ministers. They include 6 draft regulations and 3 draft directives in accordance with our regulations. These various draft texts were considered by the various competent standing committees referred to for this purpose by the plenary. For the procedure, the provisions of Rule 84 of our regulations will be applied. Having said that, following the presentation of the various reports and resolutions, we will now put them to a joint debate and then proceed for their adoptions. On this note, I now invite the co-chairs and co-rapporteurs of the joint committees to present in turns before the plenary the conclusion of their meetings on the referrals from the ECOWAS Commission. They are the following joint committees. 1, Joint Committee on Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, Committee on Health, Committee on Legal Affairs, and Human Rights Committee on Social Affairs, Gender and Women Empowerment, on the following draft community text. Draft regulations C/REG/12/23 relating to the mechanism to combat the exploitation and illegal trade wildlife in West Africa. B, draft regulation C/REG/20 on the harmonization of the regulation of plastic products and ecological sound management of plastics waste within ECOWAS member state. C, draft regulation N, ECOWAS relating to environment and social assessment within ECOWAS. Joint Committee on Energy, Mines, Committee on Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Committee on Infrastructure, Committee on Industry and Private Sector, Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights on the following draft community text. A, draft regulation C/REG/ on the ECOWAS regional electricity market fee. B, draft regulation C/REG/12/23 relating to the monitoring of ECOWAS regional electricity market. Draft directive, that's C, DIR/1/12/23 for the harmonization of criteria for granting license and authorization for participation in the ECOWAS regional electricity market. 3, Joint Committee on Health, Committee on Social Affairs, Gender and Women Empowerment, Committee on Education, Science and Culture, Committee on Trade, Custom and Free Movement, Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights on the following draft text. D, draft directives C for DIR relating to the management of sanitary waste in the region. E, draft directive C/DIR relating to the rights of sexual health and reproduction. F, draft regulations C/REG relating to approval procedure for medicine for human use in ECOWAS member states. We shall start with Committee on Justice. 1, Committee on Agriculture. We shall start with the joint committees. 1 is Committee on Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, Committee on Health, Committee on Legal Affairs, Committee on Human Rights, Committee on Social Affairs, Gender and Women Empowerment on the following draft committee text. Draft regulation C/REG relating to the mechanism to combat the exploitation and illegal trade of wildlife in West Africa. Draft regulation on the harmonization of regulation of plastics products and ecological sound management of plastic waste within ECOWAS member states. C, draft regulation of ECOWAS relating to the environment and social assessment within ECOWAS state. You may please make your presentation. Please present a summary of the report as well as the draft regulation to the plenary. Thank you. You have the floor. Are the reporters around? Honorable Sekulungbe and Honorable Alipiu, you are the ones to do the presentation. I guess after their presentation, we can take a small break. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to make a presentation on the Joint Committee on Environment and Human Affairs, Committee for Social Affairs and Gender, on the ECOWAS referral, the project for the evaluation of the fight against illegal exploitation in West Africa, the draft regulation governing plastic products and harmonization of environmentally sound management plastic waste in Africa, in West Africa. And so this and others is what we are going to make a presentation. I have the introduction, and then I'll talk about conclusions and recommendations. Introduction. And the second meeting of the meeting of the Committee for Social Affairs, Gender and Women Rights met on Thursday, 22nd November in Abuja, the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The meetings of the Joint Committee was held under the chair of Honorable Fabia, the chair of the Social Affairs and Gender, and the Vice Chair of Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources. The objective of this meeting was to examine three drafts on the environment policy of ECOWAS, to find the regulatory mechanism for the fight against wildlife in Africa, and on the harmonization of plastic and plastic waste in the West African member states, the draft regulation on the social and environmental regulation in ECOWAS. The following took part in the joint committee: the honorable MPs, representatives of ECOWAS, and members of parliamentary administration, whose names are in annex to this report. After the welcoming remarks by the chair of the joint committee, the representative of ECOWAS was called upon to present the draft regulation. After this presentation, the review of the appropriate mechanisms were effected. I'm now going to move to conclusions and recommendations. Page 9 of conclusion and a recommendation of the French version, page 9. Conclusion and recommendation. At the end of the debate, member of the Joint Committee congratulated the ECOWAS Commission for the quality of the draft community regulation as presented, as well as the relevance of the responses raised by the various honorable members. At the end of this meeting, the Joint Committee was informed of the need to develop a legal and institutional framework on rules and regulations on environmental policy while reflecting the interests of member states. Also, the Joint Committee recommends to the plenary to favorably consider the need to adopt the following community acts. The draft regulation on the exploitations of wildlife in West Africa, the draft regulation on the regulation of plastic products and rational ecological waste of member states of ECOWAS, the draft regulation on the environmental and social regulation within ECOWAS. Here attached are the draft resolution of the community acts submitted to plenary for their adoption, done in Abuja by the first and second rapporteur. Mr. Speaker, I so read.
I shall now put to discussion the report of the Joint Committee. Committee on Energy, Mines, Committee on Trade, Custom and Free Movement, Committee on Infrastructure, Committee on Industry and Private Sector, Committee on Legal Affairs, and Committee on Human Rights on the following draft committee: draft regulation on the ECOWAS regional electricity market fee, draft regulation relating to the monitoring of the ECOWAS regional electricity market, draft directive for the harmonization of the criteria for granting license and harmonization for participation in the ECOWAS regional electricity market. I give the floor to the Joint Committee on Energy and Mines, Committee on Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Committee on Infrastructure, Committee on Industry and Private Sector, Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights to present the summary of the committee's report as well as the draft resolution to the plenary. And I invite Honorable Fubu Bukar and Mamadou Sako and Ogene Emmanuel Ego to present their reports. Are they available? None of them? That's serious. Okay. Mr. Koi may come forward. You may come to the dais.
Réunion de la commission mixte.
Meeting of the Joint Committee on Energy and Mines, Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Infrastructure, Industry and Private Sector for the examination of the following draft community acts. Draft regulation on ECOWAS regional electricity market levy. Draft regulation on the surveillance of ECOWAS regional electricity market. The draft directive on the harmonization of criteria for the granting of licenses and authorizations to participate in the ECOWAS regional electricity market. Introduction. In accordance with the working sessions of the committees for the second ordinary session of ECOWAS Parliament for the year 2023, the Joint Committee on Energy and Mining, Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Infrastructure and Industry, and Private Sector held 2 meetings on Monday 27 and Tuesday 28 November 2023 at the headquarters of the Parliament in Abuja, Nigeria. The objective of the meeting was to examine 3 draft community texts submitted to ECOWAS Parliament for opinion in accordance with Article 9D of the Supplementary Act, i.e., the draft regulation on ECOWAS regional electricity market levy, the draft regulation on the surveillance of ECOWAS regional electricity market, and the draft directive on the harmonization of criteria for the granting of licenses and authorizations to participate in the ECOWAS regional electricity market. The deliberations of the Joint Committee were co-chaired by Honorable Fugu Bokar, Chair, Committee on Energy and Mines, and Honorable Mamadou Sako, Chair, Committee on Industry and Private Sector. The meeting of the Joint Committee was attended by members of the Joint Committee, ECOWAS Commission representatives and staff members. The attendance list is attached to this report. At the beginning of the deliberations,
Je m'excuse, hein.
I apologize. I'm not rapporteur. The rapporteurs are not here, so I apologize. So I'm placing them. So I crave your indulgence. Conclusions and recommendations. Following the debate, members of the Joint Committee congratulated the Commissioner and his team for the quality of the presentation and the relevance of answers to the concerns raised by the honorable members of Parliament. After its deliberation, the committee was convinced of the major interest in developing an institutional and legal framework that would encourage the harmonization of laws in the electricity sector, because it will guarantee to ECOWAS workers, ECOWAS some autonomy. The Joint Committee is recommending to plenary to express a favorable opinion for adoption by the Council of Ministers of the following text: the draft regulation on the ECOWAS regional electricity market, the draft regulation on the directives for the harmonization of criteria for the granting of licenses and authorizations to participate in ECOWAS regional electricity market, done on 28 November 2023 in Abuja, Nigeria.
Our
projet de résolution.
Draft resolution of the ECOWAS Parliament on the draft regulation on the surveillance of the ECOWAS electricity market. The ECOWAS Parliament, at its second ordinary session of the year 2023, held in Abuja from 22 November to 15 December 2023, mindful of Article 13 on the revised treaty establishing the ECOWAS Parliament, mindful of Articles 26, 28 and 35 on the revised ECOWAS treaty relating to the promotion, cooperation, integration and development of energy projects and sectors in member states of the community, mindful of the ECOWAS Energy Protocol A/P4/1/03, establishing the legal framework to promote long-term cooperation in the energy sector based on complementarity and mutual benefits with a view to increasing investment in the energy sector and developing energy trade in the West African region. Mindful of the Supplementary Act ASA.2/01/08, establishing the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority of ECOWAS, ERERA, mindful of Regulation C, Regulation .27/12/07, as amended on the composition, organization, powers, and operation of ERERA, particularly Articles 16 and 18, mindful of Decision A/DEC/.5/12/99, establishing the West African Power Pool, WAPP, considering that the main objective of setting up a regional regulatory body is to develop an attractive investment climate for investors and to develop cross-border trade in electricity within ECOWAS, convinced that regional regulation of electricity is imperative for the implementation, monitoring, and control of cross-border trade in electricity, considering that ERERA, as the regional electricity regulator, should work with the national regulatory authorities to strengthen their monitoring, supervision, and cooperation efforts to ensure that they are fully prepared to meet the challenges of effectively monitoring the complexities of the regional electricity market, mindful of Article 9 of the Supplementary Act on the Enhancement of the Powers of the ECOWAS Parliament, which specifies the areas in which Parliament must be consulted in the process of adopting community texts, mindful of Article 15 of the said Supplementary Act, which stipulates that Parliament shall adopt resolutions in the execution of its mandate, designing to the promotion of a regional approach to cross-border trade in electricity and to ensure the harmonization of institutions and rules within ECOWAS, mindful of the report of the Joint Committee on Energy and Mining, Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Infrastructure, Industry and Private Sector, deliberated and adopted the following resolutions at the sitting of 28 December 2023. The resolution is as follows. Article 1. The draft resolution on the monitoring of the ECOWAS regional electricity market was adopted. Article 2 instructs its chairman to forward this resolution to the President of the Commission for onward transmission to the Chairman of the Council of Ministers. Done in Abuja, 3 December 2023, plenary.
Okay. No, at what text?
We have 3 resolutions.
Fairly. Okay. Resolution.
Resolution SAW/Parliament /Rev 33 /2023 Parliament on the draft regulation on the draft directive harmonizing the Parliament at its second ordinary session of 2023 held from 22 November to 15 December 2023 in Abuja, mindful of Article 13 of the revised treaty establishing the ECOWAS Parliament, mindful of Article 26, 28 and 55 of the revised ECOWAS treaty relating to the promotion, cooperation, integration and development of energy projects and sectors in member states of the community, mindful of the ECOWAS Energy Protocol A/P4/1/03 establishing the legal framework to promote long-term cooperation in the energy sector and based on complementarity and mutual benefits with a view to increasing investment in the energy sector and developing energy trade in the West African region, mindful of the Supplementary Act ASA.2/01/08 establishing the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority, ERERA, mindful of Regulation C/REG.227/12/07 as amended on the composition, organization, powers, and operation of ERERA, particularly in Article 16 and 18, mindful of Decision A/DEC 5/12/99 establishing the West African Power Pool, WAP, considering that the creation of a regional regulatory authority will be an attractive will attract investors within ECOWAS, considering the need to organize a regional market of electricity and an environment favorable to investment and developing capacity within ECOWAS member states, convinced that financial security and the autonomy of ERERA and of the system operator and the market are necessary for the good functioning and ability to carry out their mission for the exploitation and regulation of the regional electricity market, considering Article 9 of the Supplementary Act on enhancing the prerogatives of the ECOWAS Parliament, the areas in which Parliament must necessarily be seized for the adoption of community texts, considering Article 15 of the Supplementary Act above mentioned, stating that Parliament should be seized in the framework of the execution of his mandate, desires to support the community action to support actors in the electricity system for the financing of the budget of OISAM, considering the report of the Joint Committee, the Committee on Energy and Mine, Customs, Infrastructure, Industry, Private Sector, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, to deliberate and adopt during its session the draft resolution, the following draft resolution. The ECOWAS Parliament, Article 1, issues a favorable opinion to the creation of the regional market for electricity in the ECOWAS region. Article 2 mandates its Speaker to forward the resolution to the President of the Commission, done at Abuja 4 December 2023 for plenary. Sorry, interpreters do not have the resolution. Dr. Sidi Mohamed Tunis, Honorable Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament. So the last resolution that we are going to be reading out now is a resolution SCM/Parliament/REC report/DEC/2023 of Parliament of the ECOWAS Parliament on the draft regulation on the harmonization of criteria for authorization of participation to the regional ECOWAS electricity market. The ECOWAS Parliament, at its second ordinary session in the year 2023, held from 22 November to 15 December 2023, considering, mindful of Article 13 of the revised treaty establishing the ECOWAS Parliament, mindful of Articles 26, 28, and 25 of the revised ECOWAS Treaty relating to the promotion, cooperation, integration, and development of energy projects and sectors in member states of the community, mindful of the ECOWAS Energy Protocol, A/P4/1/03, establishing the legal framework to promote long-term cooperation in the energy sector based on complementarity and mutual benefits, with a view to increasing investment in the energy sector and developing energy trade in the West African region. Mindful of the Supplementary Act A/SA.2/01/08, establishing the ECOWAS Regional Electricity Regulatory Authority, ERERA, mindful of Regulation C/REG.27.12.07 as amended on the composition, organization, powers, and operation of ERERA, particularly Articles 16 and 18, mindful of decision A/DEC.5/12/99, establishing the West African Power Pool, WAPP, considering the Article 7 of Regulation DER.1/06/13 on the organization of the regional electricity market of ECOWAS for free access to regional transportation network, considering that there exists now from the possibility to grant licenses and authorization to participate in the ECOWAS regional electricity market, considering also that participation in the regional electricity market may increase with the development of the regional market, which will require the development of an appropriate regulatory framework for licensing and authorization to participate in the regional electricity market, recognizing the need to harmonize the criteria for granting licenses and authorization to participate in the regional electricity market in order to promote a level playing field and ensure compliance with the best technical, financial, and commercial practices for the sustainability of the regional electricity market, mindful of Article 9 of the Supplementary Act on the enhancement of the powers of the ECOWAS Parliament, which specifies the areas in which Parliament must be consulted in the process of adopting community texts, mindful of Article 15 of the said Supplementary Act, which stipulates that Parliament shall adopt resolutions in the execution of its mandate, desirous of contributing to the eventual promotion of a regional approach to cross-border electricity exchanges and to ensuring the harmonization of national legal and institutional frameworks with a view to organizing the regional electricity market and creating favorable conditions for the development of investment and capacity in member states, mindful of the report of the Joint Committee on Energy and Mining, Trade, Customs, and Free Movement, Infrastructure, Industry and Private Sector, Legal Affairs and Human Rights, deliberated and adopted the following resolution at its sitting of 4 December. Article 1, the ECOWAS Parliament has a favorable opinion on the directive for the criteria for granting licenses and authorization for participation in the ECOWAS regional electricity market. Article 2 instructs the chairman to forward this resolution to the President of the Commission for onward transmission to the Chairman of the Council of Ministers, done in Abuja on 4 December 2023. Dr. Sidi Mohammed Chinis, the Right Honorable Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament.
Thank you very much, Rapporteur. I shall now put to discussion the report of the Joint Committee. Respected colleagues, the next Joint Committee report is on Health, Committee on Social Affairs, Gender and Women Empowerment, Committee on Education, Committee on Culture, Committee on Trade, Custom and Free Movement, Committee on Legal. Am I right? Is that the next report? And Committee on Human Rights. I will plead with the presenters to please kindly go just into introduction and then recommendations so that we save time. And I invite once again the reporter to come to the floor, to take the floor to present their reports.
Dans les résolutions, on a visé seulement les considérations que alors, considérant la proposée de chef. On est dans la résolution. Ok, d'accord.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Draft report of the Joint Committee on Health, Social Affairs, Gender, and the Empowerment of Women, Education, Science, and Culture, Committee on Trade, Customs, and Free Movement, Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights, relative to the referral of to ECOWAS Parliament for opinion on 1, the draft Directive C/DIR on healthcare waste management in the region. 2, Draft Directive C/DIR on sexual and reproductive health rights. 3, Draft Regulation REG.C/REG on procedure for approving medicinal products for human use in ECOWAS member states. Introduction. Within the framework of the 2023 second ordinary session of the ECOWAS Parliament, the Joint Committee on Health, Social Affairs, Gender and the Empowerment of Women, Committee on Education, Science and Culture, Committee on Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights met on 24 and 28 November 2023 at the ECOWAS Parliament in Abuja, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The objective of the meeting was to consider the referrals from the West African Health Organization, WAHO, on the following draft texts. 1. Draft Directive C/DIR on healthcare waste management in the region. 2. Draft Directive C/DIR on sexual and reproductive health rights. And Draft Regulation REG/REG relating to the procedure for approving medicinal products for human use in ECOWAS member states. The West African Regional Health Organization was represented at the meeting by its legal advisor, who was accompanied by his colleagues. The list of participants in the meeting is annexed to this report. Now, let us go straight to the recommendations. The recommendations. After a detailed examination of the draft text and in the light of the answers provided to the questions raised by the Joint Committee, Health Committee, Social Affairs, Gender and the Advancement of Women, Education, Science and Culture, Trade, Customs and Free Movement, Committee on Legal Affairs and Human Rights, Committee of the ECOWAS Parliament, and convinced of the relevance and topicality of the proposals contained in this referral file. As these proposals are in line with the objectives and aspirations of the populations of the ECOWAS community, the Joint Commission therefore recommends to the plenary of ECOWAS Parliament to issue a favorable opinion for the adoption of the following community text. 1. Draft Directive C/DIR on healthcare waste management in the region. 2. Draft Regulation REG/REG on procedures for approving medicinal products for human use in ECOWAS member states. However, regarding the draft Directive C/DIR on sexual reproductive health rights, the Joint Committee recommends to the plenary to issue a favorable opinion except for the provisions of Article 25, Paragraph 3, which deals with comprehensive sexuality education. Closing the meeting, the co-chairman of the Joint Committee expressed his satisfaction with the contributions made and expressed the hope that the deliberations would help to ensure good health and long-term well-being for the populations of the region. The 3 draft resolutions annexed to this report are also submitted to plenary of ECOWAS Parliament for adoption. Resolution SCW/PAL/REC/December 2023 of ECOWAS Parliament on the directive on the waste management relating health to in the region. The ECOWAS Parliament, at the meeting of its ordinary session of the year 2023, held from the 22nd of November to the 10th of December 2023 in Abuja, considering Article 13 of the Review Treaty establishing the ECOWAS Parliament, considering Article 9 of the Supplementary Act on the prerogatives of the ECOWAS Parliament, specifying areas in which Parliament has the obligation to be seized in the processes for adopting texts of the community, considering Article 15 of the State Supplementary Act, giving powers to the Parliament to pass resolutions on the exercise of its mandate, Article 61.2 on cooperation in health matters, but mindful of Protocol A /P.2/7/87 establishing the West African Health Organization, WAHO, as the specialized ECOWAS institution in charge of cooperation and harmonization of public health policies within the region. Mindful of the Supplementary Act A/SA.4/12/08 on the adoption of the environmental policy of ECOWAS, mindful of adequate management of waste from health activities pose a serious risk to public health and the environment, considering the close links between environment and health, particularly in the field of waste management in general and healthcare waste in particular, conscious of the gaps in management of health waste in the region and the negative impacts on human and animal health as well as on the environment, considering the compelling need to have a regional directive on the management of healthcare waste in order to achieve a harmonization of national legislation in this area, noting that some member states do not have legislation on reproductive health and that even where it exists, it is insufficient, fragmented, and inadequate. Convinced that it is in the interest of the community to have harmonized legislation in the member states that conforms to international norms and standards on sexual and reproductive health, desirous to support the efforts of the community to adopt a directive to provide guidelines to member states in the area of the management of healthcare waste in the region, considering the report of its joint committee, Committee on Health, Committee on Social Affairs, Gender and Women Empowerment, Committee on Education, Science and Culture, has deliberated and adopted during its sitting of 4 December 2023 the following resolution. Article 1 issues a favorable opinion. The ECOWAS Parliament. Article 1 issues a favorable opinion on the adoption of the draft directive on the management of healthcare waste in the region. Article 2 mandates the Speaker to forward this resolution to the President of the Commission. Done in Abuja, 4 December 2023, for plenary, Dr. CDA Mohamed Tunis, Right Honorable Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament.
Okay. Projet de résolution du Parlement de la CEDEAO relative au
draft resolution of the ECOWAS Parliament on sexual and reproductive health.
Excusez-moi. Le Parlement de la CEDEAO, réuni au cours de...
The ECOWAS Parliament meeting in plenary of 8th 2023 second ordinary session from 22nd November to 15 December 2023, mindful of Article 13 of the revised treaty establishing the ECOWAS Parliament, mindful of Article 9 of the supplementary act relating to the enhancement of the powers of ECOWAS, which precises the area in which opinion of the Parliament is mandatory required in the adoption process of community acts, mindful of Article 15 of the State Supplementary Act giving powers to the Parliament to pass resolution in the exercise of its mandate, mindful of Article 61.2d of the revised Cooperation in Health Matters, mindful of Protocol AP 2/787 of the West African Health Organization, mindful of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights of December 10, 1948, mindful of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights of June 27, 1981, mindful of the International Convention on the Rights of the Child of November 20, 1989, mindful of the African Charter on Rights and Welfare of Child of 1990, mindful of the Declaration of the Elimination of Violence Against Women of 1993, mindful of the Abuja Declaration of 2021 on health financing, mindful of the protocol to the report of the committee adopted as follows. Article 1, to express a favorable opinion on sexual reproductive health right, as well as the matters of sexual education. Article 2 mandates the Speaker to forward this resolution to the President of the Commission, done on the 4th December in Abuja in plenary.
Projet de résolution du Parlement de la CEDEAO.
Draft resolution of the ECOWAS Parliament on the use of medicines for human consumption in ECOWAS. The ECOWAS Parliament met at its meeting on the 22nd November in Abuja. Mindful of Article 13 of the revised treaty establishing the ECOWAS Parliament, considering the report of the Joint Committee Health, Social Affairs, Gender, Human Rights, Education, Science and Culture, deliberated and adopted during its meeting as follows. Article 1, issue a favorable opinion on the procedure for the approval of medical products for human use in ECOWAS. Article 2 mandates a Speaker to forward resolution to the President of the Commission, done in Abuja on 4th December 2023 for the plenary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, our rapporteur. Respected colleagues, it's now 1:35. We are supposed to go on break by 1:30. I want to plead with our colleagues that we go reconvene by 2:30. Therefore, there may be intervention. I don't want to foreclose that there won't be intervention. You say?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, there are a couple of interventions that we want to bring about. So if we can take a short break as you've proposed, I think we'll come back and take those interventions.
It's in the interest of our own health. We need to stretch our legs, have some coffee, and re-energize so that we come back to Justice Street. So we'll adjourn now, come back by 2:30. Thank you. Sitting stand adjourn to 2:30.